ओ ओम श्री गणेशाय नमः। ओम श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः। ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय विश्वोत्पत्त्यादिहेतवे तापत्रयविनाशाय श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं। परमानन्दमाधवं परमानन्दमाधवम्। ॐ वाङ्मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविरावीर्म एधी वेदस्य माणिस्थः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासीः अनेनाधीतेन अहोरात्रान् संदधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्माम् अवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु। अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम्। ॐ शान्ति शान्तिः शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारे हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा जिह्वे पिबस्वामृतमेतदेव गोविंद दामोदर माधवेति। हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति। हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति। हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति। नारायण नारायण नारायण। वर्स नंबर 66। नास्ति बुद्धिरयुक्तस्य न चायुक्तस्य भावना न चाभावयतः शान्तिः अशान्तस्य कुतः सुखम्। नास्ति बुद्धिरयुक्तस्य न चायुक्तस्य भावना न चाभावयतः शान्तिः अशान्तस्य कुतः सुखम्. We'll read Bhagwan Shankaracharya's Bhashya on this verse again before we continue with where we left in the last session. न अस्ति न विद्यते न भवति इत्यर्थः बुद्धिः आत्मस्वरूप विषया अयुक्तस्य असमाहितान्तःकरणस्य न च अस्ति अयुक्तस्य भावना आत्मज्ञानाभिनिवेशः तथा न च अस्ति अभावयत आत्मज्ञानाभिनिवेशम् अकुर्वतः शान्तिः उपशमः अशान्तस्य कुतः सुखम् इंद्रियाणां हि विषयसेवा तृष्णातो निवृत्तिः या तत्सुखम् न विषया तृष्णा दुःखम् एव हि सा न तृष्णायां सत्यां सुखस्य गंधमात्रम् अपि उपपद्यते इत्यर्थः. Supreme Consciousness Bhagavan Krishna, continuing in the series of verses he is given for our self-control, emphasizing the critical need of self-control in the life of every human being born in a human body. For every jiva, I'm not using the word jiva so much, for human being I would say, because I've already deciphered between the other jivas and the human being already in the past episodes. So for human being, Bhagwan is emphasizing the critical need of self-control through these verses. And in the last session, we had seen the literal meaning of this verse also, and we have seen some aspects of the meaning of this verse. So we'll continue from where we left in the last session. So before I ended the last session, or I completed the last session, and we were talking about a example which is given from Vivek Chudamani, which have taken from Vivek Chudamani, where a guru and his disciple are walking and they're traveling a distance, they're going to some place, and when they were walking along a source of water, a stream or a pond, and suddenly the disciple starts to feel thirsty, and because the entire source of water is covered by leaves, is by the what do you call that, algae development or leaves which is there, is already covered by it. Thus disciple could not see it, so he asked the Guru, I'm feeling very thirsty, how should I quench my thirst? So Guru said, why don't you just drink from, you are already walking besides the source of water, why don't you just drink from there? So the disciple tells the Guru that I'm sorry, I cannot see it, where is the water? So Guru, what he does is he goes and removes the leaves to an extent so that the disciple can see the water, and the disciple quenches his thirst by drinking water from there. But the moment into the thirst of the disciple is quenched and they start walking again, and the disciple thinks that oh, Guru showed me some water from somewhere, let me just turn back and see where the water was. When the disciple turns back, that stream is again covered with the leaves, so the disciple is not able to see the leaf at all, and he starts to conceive in his mind, starts to think in his mind that probably it was a magic done by Guru. Because of his inherent spiritual powers this Guru has, he may have actually taken out water from the land only, and quenched my thirst, and he was telling me that there was a stream and all, because when the disciple turns back, the stream is covered back again with this entire green kind of leaves which is there, and the vision of water is completely lost. Why I brought it up again and to highlight is, there was a key point I wanted to drive. While a disciple goes and studies under the tutelage of a Guru, because a Guru has got his own spiritual sadhana and a Guru is well established in the knowledge, whereas at the level of the disciple is not so pure yet. The disciple's mind is still fickle, still runs after many things, does not have the antakarana purity or the inner equipment purity yet to actually grasp the subtler knowledge of self which the guru is teaching. But with the power of guru's sadhana and his level where he is already there, where for the time being, until the time a disciple surrenders at the lotus feet of guru, in the time when the disciple is studying under the guru, during that time, because of the powerful spiritual sadhana of the guru, many a times, and powerful spiritual sadhana of the guru and the purity of our scriptures in the way they are explaining, many a times the knowledge starts to happen inside the disciple. Means the disciple starts to gain clarity of what is being taught. In the same way as guru removed the leaves and showed the disciple that the water is there, and the disciple quenched his thirst for the time being. In the same way, the disciple, when he is under the tutelage of the guru, because of the power of sadhana of the guru, to the power of spiritual penance which the guru has been doing, and the level guru has reached, is at that time when the knowledge is being imparted to the disciple also, in spite of the fact that he's ayukta, without the purity of inner equipment, yes, yet, but the clarity of knowledge starts to happen. And whatever guru says about the self, this disciple is able to understand it and is able to establish, yes, what he's saying is right. And he is able to see what guru is wanting to show him. So at that point in time, the clarity is there. But the moment the guru comes out of the tutelage of the shishya, the disciple comes out of the tutelage of the guru, or the guru has to go somewhere, and the disciple is left alone to reflect on what is being taught. At that time, even though this disciple has understood the self knowledge at the time when it was imparted to him, with the power of guru's sadhana, the veiling which is there on the self knowledge was removed for the time being, as in the same way the veiling of the leaves was removed from the source of water, so that the source of water is clearly visible to the disciple, and disciple can quench his thirst for the time being. In the same way, this disciple who is under the tutelage of the guru, since guru removes the veiling which is there on the self knowledge, the disciple is able to understand the self, about the self for the time being, this in the same way as that disciple in the example which I gave you was able to quench the thirst for the time being. But when the disciple goes back and starts to practice, because he does not have enough practice yet, and his inner equipment is not subtle enough on its own, does not have enough capability, he is not even a qualified student, so to say. His intellect and his inner equipment is not qualified yet to grasp the self knowledge. So the moment he comes back out from the tutelage of the guru, who the same veiling which is there in the self knowledge, it again unveils that self knowledge, and that is what in Vedanta is called viparita bhavana. Means, what is the viparita bhavana? I'll explain you as I move along also. There is a established clarity in the intellect that whatever guru taught, whatever he told is correct. And you cannot say that I did not experience what guru who taught me at the time when I was under the tutelage of the guru. But I am not fulfilled yet. I'm not contented yet. Why? Because whatever guru taught, even though for the time being I understood, it's not that I did not understand, but I did not practice yet to enter that knowledge, which is what Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji mentioned with the word Atma Jnana Abhinivesham. Atma Jnana Abhinivesha. So, what happened is, Guru said that this self is what witness principle, Sakshi. This self is the conscious entity, Chinmatra. This self, even though it is completely pervasive everywhere, in and out of everything, but it is still completely detached. And all these properties which Guru mentioned about the self, I could also understand, and what he was saying is correct. where whatever examples Guru gave, whatever points Guru brought out from the Upanishad, whatever Guru or the Acharya spoke about, I can see that that kind of clarity is coming or happening in my intellect. But I cannot say that it has become my experience yet. It is just a piece of knowledge which is there in my intellect yet. So I'll tell you one thing. Bhagwan is telling Tasya Prajna Pratishtita. Everywhere Bhagwan is using that word. I'm going to highlight that also here now. So it's not that the intellectual clarity the student has not got, the intellectual clarity the disciple has not got. It's not that. He got it when it was being taught to him or her. But the moment the disciple comes out, what happens? Mind is already trained to run around in the world, right? So the moment that the sanidhya or the presence of Guru is not there, or the Guru is not available around this disciple, the mind in its previously trained manner will run around in the world. While running around in the world, this clarity of knowledge which the disciple got, whatever knowledge, that intellectual clarity the disciple got when he was under the tutelage of the Guru, in the presence of the Guru, let me use that word, in the presence of the Guru, whatever was knowledge was given, like all the other pieces of knowledge, this remains in one corner of the intellect of the disciple. Why? Because it is not become his knowledge yet. How will it become his knowledge yet? His or her knowledge yet? See, when I use the word his or her, please don't think it is a gender bias or anything. It is to just bring out a point. So I have to use some word for that matter, fine. But you just remember it is applicable to all genders, so to say. Self knowledge is available to everyone. So there is no bias here. So, I'm trying to, sometimes I say his and then I'll come back and say his or her, is that people don't misconstrue that I'm bending towards one particular gender or something. Don't think like that. It's not that. Anyway, so coming to that point, and because us, for that knowledge to become one's own knowledge, we have to convert that knowledge into our own experience. So till now it is the knowledge of the Guru which has been deposited in my intellect. Yes, as the knowledge has been deposited, no doubt about it. And if I have got the correct kind of shraddha, correct kind of faith in the Guru, trust me, I'm telling you, irrespective of whether we are prepared enough, we are qualified student also or not, it doesn't matter. Bhagwan himself is going to say further in the chapter, Shraddhavan labate jnanam. Knowledge will come inside your intellect, it will not remain outside. For others who listen to a Guru without faith, for them it is just one kind of information, floating around in the air. I'll give you the example also, because I have myself attended many sessions of my Guru directly, and I've attended many camps also of the Guru. So I have seen all kind of listeners, to be very honest and frank with you. Why should I go so far? Even though I'm very small, but even after the podcast also, many listeners do reach out to me, and I have come across all kind of listeners. But I'm telling you very honestly, for all listeners who reach out to me, I definitely test them in my own way before giving them access. That's my own way to do, because there are so many listeners, I cannot give time to anyone. If people don't have faith, there is no point wasting time with them. First they have to work on their own faith before actually you can and give any help. Otherwise it will be just like having in some kind of an argumentative discussion with someone, which is not going to benefit me also, which is not going to benefit anyone. See, those people who do not have faith, first they have to work on their faith before somebody can actually help them. See, for help to be received also, it's not that you need a helping hand. First you need to prepare yourself to be a receiving entity first. That you have to do, nobody else can do for you. In the same way here, I have seen all kind of listeners coming in the camps of my Guruji also. And I have discussed, I have had chat with them. So by God's grace, I've seen all kind of people in this world, so to say. So what happens is, like, I'm just giving you an example. You listen so many things in news channel these days. How many of the things you actually remain in your intellect? They're just like knowledge floating around in the outside atmosphere. You don't take everything in, right? There are some people who do not have that much of power also, that whatever they hear in news starts depositing in their intellect. And when it comes to actual knowledge to be gained, like spiritual knowledge, they say, I don't know what to do. I don't know, Swamiji, what to do. I do hear, I do understand, but nothing is retained in my intellect, because your intellect has no space. Your intellect is filled with all kind of nonsensical things which are not even required for your daily living, which are not even required for you to lead a life. Why are you storing such things? That is why I keep on telling that television may have millions of things coming there. There are so many channels available every day. New things are coming up. There are, what do you call that, web portals, and all these kind of online portals also there, where you can take subscription and watch things you want and all. But I'm just asking you, the remote is in your hand. Remote means the choice you have to make, what to fill your intellect with. What happens is, when you fill your intellect with any kind of rubbish things, when it comes to the actual thing, your intellect will not have space, and you will keep on complaining what to do. I listen, I get clarity also, but keep forgetting. Why do you keep forgetting? Because your intellect, every time when the actual thing comes, returns with an error. No disk space left to save, full stop. And we have never done the job of deleting from our intellect. So our intellect is filled with all kind of things which are not even required for our life. But the thing is, who will train us how to actually convert our intellect correctly? So I'll use one word. There are so many software programmers also associated and listening to the podcast and everything. See, for the programming world, I'll tell you, see, the spiritual knowledge is actually the real program for your inner equipment. It is the software program for inner equipment. And I'm telling you one more thing about spiritual knowledge. Spiritual knowledge is not only the correct program for you to lead your life, program your or inner equipment to get you to lead a correct life. That's one thing. But I'm also telling you one more thing today. It is one of the best antivirus scanners that is available for your inner equipment, so that the virus is floating around in this world does not, what you call, crash your intellect at times when you really need it the most. So I'm just coining words so that you understand it that way. So spiritual knowledge is actually the real programming which is required for your inner equipment. The all other programming you do is only for the computer and other things, for you to run the worldly businesses and worldly things. But who is going to write your program? Your program is what is Bhagavad Gita all about. It is one of the best antivirus scanners available, so that your intellect or your inner equipment does not crash when you need it the most. And when it crashes, Bhagwan has already spoken about in the ladder of fall. Buddhi nashat pranashyati. You're gone. We will see probably in some life, so to say. That is one of the things which we need to understand. So Bhagwan says here in this verse that yes, this disciple has understood what in terms of gain the clarity of what is being taught to him. But you cannot say, this disciple cannot say that I am placed in the knowledge. Placed in the knowledge is what is Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji mentioning as abhinivesha. Now let me just say one thing to you. What do you understand by placed in the knowledge? One is knowledge, like any other pieces of knowledge lying in the intellect, is lying in one corner. I pick it up according to my requirement. But there also there is a problem. I use the word software programming. Sometimes when I require, my intellect, my inner equipment does not recall the correct knowledge for me to use it. There are many people who when they contact me, they say, sometimes I know how to react, but the reaction does not come in the right time. It comes when the situation is gone. Means what? Your software is not strong enough to recall when it is required, or recall the correct data or reach the correct data to be used at the correct moment. That's all part of the software programming I'm talking about from a spiritual knowledge perspective. So this person cannot say that I cannot say that I don't have the knowledge. I've not gained the clarity. Yes, I've gained the clarity, but I've not entered the knowledge yet. When you say, the word abhinivesha, abhitaha nivesha means once you enter the knowledge, when you enter something, you're already surrounded by the thing everywhere. You don't have to make an effort to recall. You're already in that knowledge. That is what is meant by abhinivesha. So the self knowledge is there. It is there as another piece of knowledge lying there, but it has not become my experience yet. That is what is meant by the word called abhinivesha. There is a Vedantic text called Panchadashi, and the author of Panchadashi, Swami Vidyaranya Swamiji, uses one word there called Akrutopasti. And this Ayukta Bhagwan, who Ayukta Bhagwan is talking here, is exactly the word called, the one who cannot do abhavaita, cannot do bhavana, is being used by the word Akrutopasti. So there are, since I've used the term, I'll explain it to you also. There are two kind of people with knowledge. One is Krutopasti Jnani and one is Akrutopasti Jnani. Now, who is a Krutopasti Jnani? Krutopasti Jnani, or the person and with knowledge. Krutopasti, the person with a knowledgeable person who's Krutopasti. He is such a knowledgeable person, and such a Jnani whose inner equipment is pure, very pure, is completely shuddha, nirmala, without any kind of dirt. Because this person's inner equipment is completely pure, his antakarana is completely pure. So whenever the knowledge is dispersed to this person, whenever the praman vyapar happens for this person, at the same time, the awareness, not only the knowledge happens in the intellect of such a person, the awareness also happens, and that knowledge, this person is able to enter that knowledge at the same time when the knowledge is dispersed to him. Okay, so that is the kind of antakarana, that is, and we will use the word krutopasti as the one who's already got the abhinivesha into the self knowledge, who's already entered the self knowledge, or who started to be surrounded by the self knowledge, or who start to even transact in the world with that knowledge. All other kind of knowledge is becomes redundant for that person. Now when I use this word, don't get into a scared thing that some people have got this kind of weird kind of doubts, I tell you, and I'm telling you because many listeners contact me. So when I tell you that so many kind of people I come across, there are some kind of people I should definitely bring out. So whenever I use the example of people, please remember, it is for us to actually understand, or to assess where we stand, not to put down someone. That is one of the reasons why I never use anybody's name in any of my podcasts. But that's how you will know what all kind of situations can surface us. Unless and until we share, we won't know what all kind of situations somebody surfaces. Only when you surface a problem, then only you should know. That's not the right way to understand. If you want to protect yourself, you should know what all kind of situations you can fall into. Then only you can protect, right? Like I'm just giving you an example. This self protection training which these days they do, like teaching your kids how to protect themselves in case somebody attacks them or anything. All these kind of protection trainings, they equip you with all kind of situations, and they try to tell you how to protect yourself in all kind of situation. If they do not come up with all kind of situation, then your self protection training is only part. And if some situation which has not been told to you, if you come across that, you won't be able to protect yourself. Then how can the training be complete? So in the same way, when I come across some people, I'll tell you, there are people who come across to me who ask me question that I am young and I have started to develop interest towards self knowledge, and I really want to understand it and make it part of my life. but the people surrounding me demotivate me, saying that what's wrong with you, this knowledge is not good for you, you will leave home and go. I do not know where these kind of misconceptions have come into the mind of people. There are, everybody is not our advisor. That's one thing which I want to tell you point blank. The one who themselves doesn't know, about life correctly, how can they advise you for your life? Just tell me that. It's such a foolish thing. It doesn't mean, when I say this word, that when you enter knowledge, all the other kinds of knowledge becomes redundant. Don't, come up with a new kind of fear that, if I gain self knowledge, will I forget family? Did I ever mention that? Do you think Bhagwan will give you a knowledge where you will forget everything? That's not what it is meant. You will be able to, be with them, be present with them, help them, be part of them in a much better fashion, because you yourself are well managed. A well managed person can not only manage himself or herself, but can also help others manage themselves. But if you yourself are not well managed, or you don't even know how to manage yourself, you can't, forget about helping others to, go manage them. You cannot even manage yourself first. You cannot manage your own situations first. So when Bhagwan says, Kruto Pasti, in the Panchadashi Kar's, definition, Kruto Pasti means the person who has made that knowledge his or her own experience. Then this person sees the world with a new vision altogether. All of our vision in the world today is incorrect, actually. We are seeing the world incorrect. And, in the last session also, I mentioned that, probably partly, that one of the reason in Sanatan Dharma, all philosophies are called darshan, means drishyate anena iti darshana, that which gives you a vision. All philosophies are giving you a vision. If you follow the correct philosophy, you are actually contributing to create a correct vision for you. The philosophical problems are also there. Many philosophy does not give you correct vision. You cannot think that you will continue to destroy the world and that's a correct philosophy. No, I'm sorry, it's not. So it gives you vision. That's why it's called darshan. And we call darshan shastra, that which gives you correct vision, which corrects you. And trust me, I'm telling you, for self knowledge, there is no other philosophy except Sanatan Dharma which can give you the knowledge of the self. I'm telling you from the place where I'm standing, and point blank telling you that if you really need to understand the self in the correct fashion, you have to come to Sanatan Dharma. There is no other option. Anyway, I'll come to that point later on. So this person's inner equipment is so pure that at the time of pramana vyapar, when the self knowledge is dispersed, and when the an exchange of knowledge happens between the from the pramana to this pramata, because this pramata is pure, and I've already explained pramata, prameya, praman, and prama in the last session. Please keep a note of that, because I may keep referring to that term without any more explanation, because every time if I keep explaining the term, I won't be able to complete Bhagavad Gita that way. So I have to focus on the text also. So since the pramata is very pure here, when the praman vyapar happens, at the same time this person is able to have awareness of what is being told and is able to enter that knowledge. Vis-a-vis this person, akruto pasti is at such a level that this person's inner equipment is does not have the amount of purity required to gain the self knowledge. It's not there, and it's not gathered and single pointed yet, samahit yet. It's not gathered, it's not focused yet in the correct fashion. That's why that abhinivesh which was to happen did not happen, even though the knowledge was given. But remember, since the acharya or the guru, who the teacher or the guru, and the scripture is very well capable, that's why the knowledge, the clarity was gained. Both happened. But acharyavan purusho Veda, Veda also says that, at the time of praman vyapar, or since the guru or the acharya is very well capable and is very well established in that knowledge, and even though the disciple has got a fickle minded kind of a nature, where this because of the capability or the sadhana of the guru, this guru at the time when the praman vyapar happened is able to gather the inner equipment with his sadhana power for that time, till the time the disciple is in the tutelage of the guru. Because he is able to gather the inner equipment of the disciple or student with his sadhana, that's why at the time when the praman vyapar happens, even though this disciple is not pure yet, akrutopasti, so to say, a, the self knowledge clarity is gained at that time. But whatever conviction needed to be there for entering that knowledge, that did not happen. And because this shishya, this disciple, is not yet a qualified adhikari, is not qualified yet, is not a qualified disciple yet, because of this disciple is not able to enter the knowledge, which is what the meaning of abhinivesha is, abhita nivesha. When we are able to enter that knowledge which is given to us with clarity, without any doubt, absolute clarity in there, and I enter means I start to make it my own experience. And that is when, that is what Bhagwan has used the word called bhavana. And bhavana is the word which Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji has, as translated as atmajnana abhinivesha. Because ayukta, this is, person is non-qualified, ayukta, and because of that bhavana does not happen, this person is not able to enter this knowledge, so to say. Even though the knowledge is there, but this bhavana doesn't happen. And bhavana is not the name of a person here. I'm talking about, or the entering into the knowledge does not happen, and because our reveling is happening somewhere else. Puja Gurudev has translated this word called bhavana very beautifully in his commentary. And I, if I have to translate that word into English, it's a very beautiful word, and this is a very good translation of the word. Puja Gurudev says for bhavana, devotion to self knowledge. Now let me pick up from that line itself. The devotion to self knowledge is not there, or because this person is devoted somewhere else. That is the reason why I picked up that line, especially because I can translate it very easily for you to explain it in English. Sometimes we find very difficult in terms of translating everything into English to all of you, because some words it's very easy to understand in Hindi actually, but more difficult to translate down into English, so to say. But anyway, I'll use this word which Puja Gurudev has mentioned here. So let me just translate that devotion to self-knowledge in a little bit more way. Bhavana, actually, bhav means feeling. Feeling is an attribute of mind, because mind is what is a feeler. Now just think for a moment, intellect gathers knowledge, but mind feels for someone else. I'll use one word Puja Maharashri has used somewhere, but he was explaining in Bhagavad Gita in his talk somewhere, and so very beautiful. I picked it up. So he was narrating about a person, that a person came to him and said, Swamiji, I'm very frustrated with my life, because the wife who I'm married to, who I don't like her. So Swamiji said, it's a very difficult proposition. What are you talking about? So he said, Swamiji, what to do? Because of which, since I don't like her, or I don't have any feeling for her, I'm very frustrated in life. So some Swamiji, not this Swamiji, Swamiji said some other Swamiji told him this. So Swami said, then what to do? Go to a doctor and see what can be done. Swami said, I can give you spiritual advice, but I don't think you are ready yet to do that. So he said, so that man said, Swamiji, I went to a doctor. So Swamiji said, then tell me the full thing. What happened then? He said, the doctor told me that, the only treatment is you go and start loving some other female. He said, then said, Swamiji, I started loving some other female. Now I am happy, but now my wife is frustrated. So Swamiji said, then what to do? Then what happened? Swamiji, unfortunately, my wife also went to the same doctor, and the doctor advised her also the same thing. You also start loving somebody else. So Swamiji said, this way the entire Grahast ashram has fallen down. What the hell is happening? So Swamiji said, when you don't feel means what? Bhavana actually happens at the level of mind. Mind is the feeler. Many a times, no, we don't understand what life is wanting to tell us. I've given many examples in many other talks also about this. Apparently, the thing is, we need to, mind is fickle. We have to control the mind. Just think for a moment, like this example I gave you just now. If mind doesn't feel for the one where intellect has got the knowledge in, and then mind will go some other way, then your life will be falling apart all this way. The same way I spoke about this grahastha ashram which I just spoke about. If your mind is somewhere else, intellect somewhere else, where is your combined personality? Your personality will always be like a split personality. Split means what? Intellect is talking something else, mind is somewhere else. So as I explained to you in the BMI chart also, we need to understand how to exercise control over the mind. Mind has to should have devotion towards where intellect has got a strong conviction, provided intellect is strong enough. If mind is strong, then intellect is always taken and has taken a back seat, so to say, and mind becomes the driver. Then the life is not so easy to handle. So that is what is meant by bhavana, means devotion towards self knowledge. Now just think of this man and the akruto pasti, and this person I spoke about as per Panchadashi Kara's definition. And even though the knowledge of self is there, but the mind is reveling somewhere else, or mind is devoted to someone else, then the knowledge which is there in the intellect is lying in one corner of the intellect. It's not that the person doesn't know yet. No, it's not like that. But the knowledge is not effective. Right? That is what is happening, because it's lying in one particular corner. Because this knowledge is not effective, that does not become, that does not show us the path in life when we need it, because it is not effective yet. According to the knowledge which is gained, we are not able to live our life according to that. That is what is meant by this particular term. Now, because as the intellect, the knowledge which is lying there is not powerful yet, it does not provide vision to us, which is what I mentioned with the term called darshan. The philosophical knowledge is there, but it does not give me vision of trying to know this world correctly. That is what is happening here. That is why Bhagavan said, na cha ayuktasya bhavana. No, even though intellect is there, the knowledge is there, but because the devotion to self-knowledge edge does not happen inside this person will not be able to enter that knowledge. It will remain as another, all the other pieces of knowledge lying somewhere. I'm telling you very honestly, where to go far. It's many a times, I also sit down and think of things now. I realize I didn't even know these things have been lying in the intellect for so long. I do not know why. Even before or the self knowledge started to be given, there were many things were lying there. I don't think any effort was made to delete them. Now we are making the exercise to delete them actually. So because this is even though self knowledge is given, because this person is non qualified, so the bhavana will not happen, the devotion to self knowledge will not happen, because this person's mind is reveling somewhere else. Where the mind is reveling, and since intellect has not gained the required power yet, mind will take the intellect to sway and will take it behind it, and it will be lost in that world. Bhagavan says, and in case he says, na cha abhavayatah shantihi. So such a person who cannot form on the kind of bhavna, cannot create it or develop devotion to that knowledge, for such a person, how do you think that person can be at peace forever? Now remember one thing, huh? Prasade sarva dukkhanam hanihi. We already spoke about in the last verse, 65th verse, where Bhagavan said, Prasanna chetaso hi ashuhu buddhihi paryavatishtate. Peace is only for the one who has taken a holy dip in the self knowledge. That is what is actually called a Mahakumbh Snan. When we take the dip in the actual self knowledge, that dip is called Mahakumbh. Then you don't come back to me and say that, then what is this Mahakumbh happening now? That is the physical aspect of Mahakumbh. The inner aspect of Mahakumbh is when you gain the required knowledge and start to work towards piece by piece, as when you start your journey from home to go to the Mahakumbh, you have to gather many things. You have to book your travel, you have to book your stay, and when you go there, you have to understand first, gather your focus. There are some people who have come to me and said that, even though I did Kumbh Snan, but nothing really happened. No, then I gave the same answer to that person that, you may take a million Kumbh Snan, nothing is going to happen if you have not done the preparatory step first. So the preparatory step is, Kumbh Snan is not a tourist visit for you. For many it may be, but that's not the correct way to do Kumbh Snan. Kumbh Snan is when you have gained that knowledge initially, and you go with that knowledge and you understand that what you are seeing outside as Mother Ganges is nothing but the bhakti of God in residing inside you, and the Mother Saraswati is what is the actual knowledge of the self within you, and Yamuna ji, which is flowing, which is really long enough, is nothing but your, or mixture of karma phala and vasana. When all these three things combine together and merge into one Ganges, is what is become Sangam for you over there. So Mahakumbh Snan is going on right now, and within a couple of days, Basant Panchami is going to come up. It's a very auspicious day, definitely for Kumbh Snan, so definitely. But be careful with the crowd and all those things. I must say that, because you must exercise your right caution, and we need to understand. And when too many people come in, there are all kind of risks which are there. So we must exercise enough caution to protect ourselves. Don't don't let government do everything. Some things we should also take up the onus of. Let's Government is already trying their best to do many things, but that doesn't, and dispose us of our responsibility to take care of us and our surroundings. We are the one who create more problem. Actually, government is trying to protect only, but don't let everything being done by government. We should also do some effort to protect ourselves. Definitely go, if you can go for the snan, do go, but exercise utmost caution before you go, or to protect yourself, because many coming there may not have the right kind of attitude to do snan. So so Mahakumbh, that inner Mahakumbh, is actually, I do not know why, by God's grace it came up today. It was not planned, so to say, speak on the Mahakumbh, but probably the Kumbh Mela is going on, so that's why it must have come. So the thing is, when we do not have the right kind of devotion to God or devotion to self, eternal peace is a far distant dream for us always. And if peace is far and distant for us, then trust me, so is going to be happiness. That is why Bhagavan says, Ashantasya kutas sukham. For a person who is not at peace within, where is the question of happiness for such a person? Means what? The falashruti of scriptures is not going to happen for a person who is abhavayatah. Ayuktah abhavayatah. That is why Bhagavan says, Nacha abhavayatah shantihi ashantasya kutas sukham. Now, I should bring out this thing very important. I told you Bhagavan Shankaracharyaji's brilliance in terms of his commentary. I'm telling you, if people can understand it, I'm telling you, there is no way you will not fall in love with the way he writes, the way he thinks, the way he has given clarity on scriptures. My, you know a million prostrations to Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji for giving that kind of clarity. A zillion prostrations to Bhagwan Krishna for the knowledge, right? And a million prostrations to Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji for giving us that clarity of understanding these verses in the correct way. Why I brought it up, I'll tell you. Bhagwan Bhashyakar says, Bhagwan Bhashyakar Shankaracharya ji says, is when one person enters the self knowledge gained, means when Atma Jnana Abhinivesha happens, the kind of peace which is experienced, and that is actually called the eternal peace. Means what? This person, the moment one enters the self knowledge, all the causes of not being at peace ceases to exist. That's why Bhagavan said, no, prasade sarva dukkhanam hani. He said sarva dukkhanam. All the kind of reasons, all the kind of causes of sorrow ends forever. All the kind of things which develop disturbance inside this person ends forever. So there is no way this person will ever be not at peace at any point in time. So Bhagavan Bhashyakar says, if you cannot enter the self knowledge which is gained by you, trust me, then a peace is definitely not possible for you. He says, the way we have joined this term. Okay, I'll explain. Let me step back to explain you this word. And that will also give you clarity on the word abhinivesha also. Now, purushoham, I am, dehoham, purushoham, jivoham. These three terms we interchangeably uses depending upon which level we are. I am this body. Now trust, think yourself, have we not entered this knowledge that I am this body? Is this knowledge not, making me lead my life today? Every act I do today, whether I act towards, happiness, whether I act towards sorrow, whether I act towards praise, whether I act towards insult, isn't that coming out of this knowledge which I've entered that I'm this body? Now I'll give you one example. There's a saint which I heard, and it's my personal experience of listening to him. By God's grace, God has been really graceful towards these kind of experiences, because I cannot even think how much should I thank. I'm like eternally grateful to God. Many life of service to my God and my Guru will not relieve me of the debt I have towards them in terms of what they have given me, to be honest with you. So, and not only given me, it's not a past tense, what they are giving me also, with God and Guru, I'm eternally grateful to them. I don't think many lives, if I live a life of full service to them, I can repay what they have done towards me. So that is what my own feeling is all about. So this knowledge, purushoham, dehoham, jivoham, is something which is continuously at the back end of every transaction I do today, isn't it? Why I use three terms. Some people live at the level of body, so dehoham for them. Some people will live at the level of jivoham, that I am jiva. Some people will live at the level of purushoham, strihom, and many things we can say that. So this is a thought which is an underlying thought or encompassing thought which runs throughout the day, except my sushupti avastha, except my deep sleep state. Sorry, sushupti avastha is means deep sleep state. If you really think over and reflect yourself, you will know this thought that I am this body, or I am this jiva, or I am purusha or stri, this keeps on continuously running at the as an undercurrent always, and all other thoughts come and go on it, and that is what is called entering the knowledge. From this undercurrent thought, that purushoham, the way we have completely enjoined with this thought in such a way that not only in waking state, in dream state also, this undercurrent thought is there. My identity is there. And this undercurrent thought means identity. I'm completely well identified with this thought that aham deha, or aham jiva, or aham purusha, aham stri, or whatever way you call it. So, replacing that thought and coming to this thought, which is the Upanishadic way of telling you the Mahavakya, Aham Brahmasmi. So, replacing the Purushoham, Dehoham, or what you call Jivoham thought, replacing that thought with Aham Brahmasmi, I am that supreme consciousness, nothing apart from that, and replacing that undercurrent thought with this thought that I am Brahman, I am the self, I am the supreme consciousness, nothing apart from Ahmed. These is equipments of inner equipments of mind, body, mind, intellect, act, memory, and ego are there given to me as equipments to serve this self. They are not me at all. And then definitely this body is just a vehicle to lead one particular life. Like, I'm just giving you an example. In India especially, I can give that example to you. Even if you buy a vehicle, the registration these days they are become pretty strict on that, is that vehicle registration will only be for 15 years. So the vehicle is available for you only for 15 years. In the same way, the body is a vehicle given to us for X number of years, with a registration which is different for everyone depending upon their prarabdha. So the registration expires, then the vehicle has to go to be scrapped, right? That's what in many states the policy, especially in Delhi. So if you're living in Delhi, definitely you have to go through that. So it's scrapped. The same way, body, when the registration expires, is scrapped. It has got no value at all. But till the time it is there, it definitely takes you from one place to another. It fulfills many of your desires also. All those things happen. I'm not saying that at all. So we have to replace this undercurrent thought which is pervaded in me today, that dehoham, purushoham, jivoham. We have to replace that with that Brahma aham. Aham Brahma asmi. That is what the Mahavakya of our Upanishads are about. And when somebody enters this knowledge and slowly, gradually practices to remain in that knowledge, that is what Bhagwan has said with the word Tasya Prajna Pratishtita. The moment that devotion to self-knowledge happens, and this person wants to live the life of self-knowledge, wants to live the life or lead the life, whatever is there, with that knowledge as the basic knowledge, and then trust me, when this knowledge becomes like a mass of consciousness, Ghanibhoot, it becomes such a mass that once you enter, when you turn back, you cannot see anything. I'm again telling you with that caution which I told you, not that you cannot see your family or anything like that, but you don't want to return back to the other knowledge. You enjoy this world. I'm using the word purposively enjoy. Actually, this person is only the one who's really enjoying the world. We are only suffering from this world, actually, more to say, not enjoying the world. Our enjoyment is like drops of enjoyment here and there somewhere in their life, but actual enjoyment is for this person who sees the self, who lives in the self knowledge, and such a person gains eternal peace. Now, to just conclude what Bhagwan said in the last two verses, I'll say, by leading a life which is devoted to God, Prabhu Parayan, and life, that I live for the happiness of God. Or what happens one gets something called prasada, which Bhagwan mentioned in the previous two verses. And trust me, prasada is also a kind of happiness. And once that, with that happiness that comes to that person, and once the devotion to that self knowledge or God happens completely, which is Bhagwan coined with the word called bhavana, another thing which comes or arises in that person is something called shanti. Shanti means peace, and that also is a different kind of happiness altogether. So Bhagwan said sukha first, as prasada, and shanti second. That means there has to be some difference also, right? The moment when while acting in this world, if we are able to devote all our actions at the lotus feet of God, means what? For the happiness of God, all our actions are devoted towards God. At that time, what happens is, in our inner equipment, the raga and dvesha, the attachment and aversion, so to say, becomes weak, and the fickleness of mind also starts to lose its power. So mind loses its fickling nature, so to say. And what happens, whatever mental projections and veiling are there in the intellect, they also starts to become weakened. Okay. And the rajogun which is there, which is also one of the reason for creating disturbance in my intellect, that also starts to lose its power or starts to become weakened. These are the things which are the happiness which Bhagwan coined with the word prasada. And moving on, when one starts to devote at the lotus feet of God, and starts to get what I would say, starts to become dependent on God. Now remember one thing, I'm using one word here, I'm jumping the gun and using the word here, I may have discussed somewhere else also. As a jiva, one thing is defined for us: a jiva cannot live without being dependent on something. Jiva is dependent on many things in life, on somebody else, cannot drive everything on its own. You can look in your life, but where, even though the dependency is something which is a defined requirement of a jiva cannot live without it. But the choice is, if you do not depend on God, or do not place your dependence on God, then you will end up placing your dependence on world or worldly things, so to say. And between God and worldly things are not temporary, impermanent, so to say. They are temporary and impermanent in nature. So your dependence will also be temporary in nature. You will have to keep altering your dependence. One goes, another comes. One goes, another comes. How long will you do that? Look at the life of us around. Isn't that something which we have been doing till now? It's time for us to wake up. Let's, as make our dependency on God. He is the only permanent thing in this entire impermanent world. Why I use the word impermanent, I already told you in one of my podcasts before also. With Srishti, remember one thing: Srishti, there will be, it will come up also, it will go into Pralay also. So Srishti and Pralay is something which will keep happening with this world. It will come up, it will go into unmanifested, it will manifest, unmanifest. This phase continues to go with Srishti. So the moment you try to place is what you call, you seek refuge in the lotus feet of God, you take Sharana in Bhagwan, and because of that Sharanagati in Bhagwan, what happened? A kind of, what you call that, nischintata, a kind of worry free nature starts to arise in you. You starts to become free of all kind of worry. You are free from all kind of worry. That is also one of the kind of happiness coming out of prasad. But here the situation or the achievement is different. Shruti Mata says, Mother Shruti says, is A jnani is the one who has already completely exercised control over all his senses, or all his senses are under his control, who's already completely quietened all his senses. And the meaning of quietude of senses was that his senses does not seem to be thirsty. That's the word I wanted to use there. Today our senses are thirsty. Today all our senses are thirsty, so to say. Goswami ji says, koi bhal kahe and kachu deve. Today my state of mind is such, our state of mind is such that, somebody should come and give us something, and somebody should praise us also someday or the other, right? This is what the thought which is going on in our mind. And our mind is filled with such kind of thought. Means what? Or that, we are not fulfilled and contented yet with God at all. Or, you know uh, our thirst is like, it's like the actual thirst we see today. Even when we are thirsty, what we do? We drink water, right? Does that quench your thirst forever? No, it doesn't. Then the question which people ask is, what do you do when you feel thirsty again? Again quench your or thirst, that's all, right? But the thing is, if you stop feeling thirsty, what do you mean by the feeling of stop feeling thirsty? If you don't feel thirsty at all, water is available, well, as things for you, but you don't run after it for quenching your thirst. Now just think, all the objects are available, but the senses stop to become thirsty because they start to find contentment somewhere else. Quenching the thirst is like quenching it temporarily for some time, till the time you feel thirsty again. That is how our senses are running after today. Bhagwan and Bhashyakar writes here, where, the actual happiness is in the form of nivritti. Nivritti means being free from all kind of dependencies on world and worldly objects. That is called actual nivritti. Being free, actually experiencing correct way of freedom. um, the mind, the senses which are today, quenching their thirst with the objects, they are quenching the thirst only temporarily, so to say. The mind which is free from the quenching of thirst of through senses, that mind is the one which experiences happiness in its correct manner. Inside, this person is filled with happiness, because inside this person is filled with happiness. Happiness of what? Atmanand, happiness or the bliss arising from the self. And since this person is reveling in the self all the time, and this person does not need any objects to revel in, so to say, forever. And that is what is the actual fruit, as explained by Bhagwan in these verses. And that is what the core meaning or the core property of sthita prajna is all about. Till the time this abhinivesh or entering this self knowledge does not happen, till that time vipreet bhavna can never be resolved forever. And since Vipreet Bhavana will not be resolved, it will always reside within us. Till that time, eternal happiness is far from us. Actually, happiness itself is far from us. This, this happiness coming out of freedom from all these kind of sense and sensual objects, actually, in the correct form, that is what is the real happiness, so to say. The happiness we know today, which comes out of our senses tasting the objects and quenching its thirst, those kind of happiness are not happiness at all. They're actually seed for sorrow only, because they will convert into sorrow one day or the other. Since they convert into sorrow one day or the other, you cannot call them or you cannot categorize them as happiness, so to say. Bhagwan himself says in 5th chapter, 22nd verse, ye hi samsparshaja bhogaha dukha yonaya evate. And Bhagwan Bhashyakar also writes this, as long as your senses are thirsty, na sukhasya gandhamatram api upapadyate. You cannot even and smell the happiness wee bit also, so to say. Na sukhasya gandhamatram api upapadyate. You cannot even, and when you go into the garden or something, the fragrance is all around, right? You experience that fragrance. So Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji says, you cannot even experience or smell the fragrance of happiness till the time this happens. Na sukhasya gandhamatram api upapadyate. So this verse is directly related to the self, but sometimes I must bring out this aspect also. Sometimes worldly meaning of this verse is also given. Worldly interpretation of this verse is also given, which we should see so that we understand how it is translated by people outside. They translate this word ayukta as the one who is without yoga buddhi, the one who is without the knowledge of karma yoga. Okay, means what? The one who is living a life full of desire fulfillment only. And because this person is running after fulfilling of desire every now and then, such a person does not gain the intellect of karma yoga. And because does not gain the intellect of karma yoga, the knowledge of karma yoga, the holy feeling or the feeling of devotion towards God, and the feeling of compassion towards the world, or the feeling or the pure feeling towards the world and worldly people does not happen in the inner equipment of such a person. And till the time negative emotions reside in the inner equipment of a person, then disturbance is natural to be there residing in such a person. And since this person is filled with negative kind of emotions towards people, and peace is far for such a person, will always be living in a disturbed kind of environment. Happiness is also far. This meaning, uh, for time being we can also take, but the actual meaning, the deep meaning is what we must understand, and we must reflect upon the deep meaning which have been explained of about this particular verse. you know for a person who's non-qualified, it sankhya buddhi, or the knowledge of self, definitely he cannot or be gained by such a person. And even if with a capable and a divine soul, or appearing in front of such a person as a guru also, even though for time being the prama is made, means the clarity, the knowledge in the clear form may have been dispensed to such a person, but but you know uh, but such a person but still also such a person will not be able to convert that knowledge into experience at all, will not be able to enter that knowledge, it's so to say. And the one who has not converted that knowledge into his own self experience, and means what, or for such a person, and whose intellect is not stable enough in that particular knowledge, such a person, peace is not possible. Peace is not possible at all. And a person who is not at peace, for such a person, and gaining happiness also is not possible. Experience of happiness also does not happen. In this way, supreme consciousness Bhagwan Krishna, through this verse, has spoken about what is the drawback of living or leading a life with only desire fulfillment as its only objective. Bhagwan says we should convert that into living a life for the happiness of God, or with God at the supreme altar, and slowly, gradually grow in love and devotion for God. Such a person, Bhagwan says, Buddhi Paryavatishthate. In the 65th verse, Bhagwan spoke about. Bhagwan meant to say, the one in the 64th verse, Bhagwan said, no, Raga Dvesha Viyuktaihi. The one who is such a seeker, who is free from Raga and Dvesha. I'm not translating that word now. By now, you should understand that word. The seeker who is free from Raga and Dvesha slowly, gradually progresses on the vertical path. And while progressing on the vertical path, you know, slowly, gradually progressing on the vertical path, slowly becomes capable to gain the self knowledge, and continually working towards that, slowly gains the quality to enter that knowledge and make that knowledge his own experience. And in the next verse, Bhagwan picks up that, even though because of a capable guru, a capable teacher, or because of the capability of a guru, because of the sadhana of a guru, even though praman vyapar, or the exchange of knowledge, of exchange of self knowledge, which in that period happens also, and the prama is developed also, the clarity of knowledge is developed also, but if this person doesn't make an effort, then that knowledge, the clarity of knowledge which has, as happened and or been constructed or being developed in the intellect of such a person, that knowledge becomes stolen. In the few verses behind also, Bhagwan mentioned that word, no? When we spoke about that thing, that it is the knowledge gets stolen. And I brought up this particular verse as when I was explaining the other verse, as few podcasts, few episodes back also, I came up this particular verse, was that the knowledge is stolen. Stolen means what? That even though the clarity of knowledge was there, that knowledge does not remain with us forever. It is possible that if the seeker with alertness and vigilance does not continue to make effort towards making this knowledge firm, it is possible that one day, slowly, gradually, it will slip out. Slip out means, being stolen means what? Slip out means what? Slowly, gradually, enjoyment in the objects will start to grow, and slowly, gradually, this person will become what? Will be caught up with the pleasures of life, and will turn towards only gaining pleasure in life, so to say. Then what happens? The clarity of knowledge which was built at that time, and because of the grace of Guru, because of the blessing of the Guru, because of the love of the Guru, that also, that slowly, gradually will become stolen from this person. And that which is stolen from you, stolen means what? It's not available for you. It has been taken by somebody else, right? That thing which was your property till now has been stolen, mean what? It's now become somebody else's property. Yes, you can go and raise a police complaint and try to search it. Possibly you can find but there are many times possibilities that you may not even find it also, or even if you find it, it may not be in the same way it was stolen also, right? So means what? It is possible that such an intellect starts to become that, such a kind of thought starts to arise in this person, that maybe in that satsang, in that episode, what I heard could be something which I must have imagined, right? And since I imagined that knowledge which was being given in that episode or in that satsang, so to say, it must have actually hypnotized my mind. My mind or my intellect must have got carried away with it, must have been deluded with it, or it could be some kind of a maya. And I've already heard in the world that many people, and I gave the example of the somebody coming and telling me also that, they say that, don't go to a guru. Oh my god, they are very dangerous people. You don't know how they will take you in their control. Well, and then you will no longer be available for yourself and family. I do not know where the such kind of thoughts come in also. When people may say that, these people who are spiritual teachers now, they are very magical. We don't know what they get it done. Sometimes probably it is true that, no such thing is there. And and I may be wrong at that point in time. So they don't get into that thing. That is why Bhagwan gives the next verse, which is verse number 67. If such kind of thoughts start to peep in your mind, even after listening to the self knowledge, even after going to a satsang, even after coming in an association with a guru, if such kind of thoughts have start to peep into your mind, start to know that your self knowledge has been stolen. And Bhagwan gives a brilliant simile in the next verse. I tell you, I told you before also, Supreme Consciousness Bhagwan Krishna in the middle of warfield has used the choicest of words. Not even a single simile given by Bhagwan is not worth reflecting upon. Not even a single simile. I salute Bhagavan Krishna for how he is given in the middle of a war field this kind of a thing, that the simile given is so apt, so beautiful, that it perfectly blends with what Bhagavan is trying to say in this particular verse. Brilliant is the word. Earlier you must have seen when he said Kurmongani was Sarvasha in the verse number 58. When he started the topic of self-control, he said, Na, Yada Samharate Chayam Kurmongani was Sarvasha. Indriyani Indriyarthebhya Tasya Prajna Pratishtita. There also I brought it out when Bhagavan gave the simile of a tortoise, the example of a tortoise. How well Bhagavan has explained that example fits or blends in so well with the topic which Bhagavan is saying. In the same way, in this verse also, brilliant is the word. It means what? Far above brilliance is the word that Bhagavan has brought out in this particular verse in terms of the example which he is giving. If we simply read through the verse, we may not get the beauty of what Bhagavan is trying to say. If you really need to understand the beauty of what Bhagavan is saying and understand in its true sense, then please give yourself time to understand. I'll tell you one thing very honestly. You may feel it as a shortcoming or something also. This podcast is going very slow because I am trying to explain every verse in its true sense and as much depth as possible. I understand it takes time, it takes effort, and I know you guys have to be patient enough for the episode to come in. But I don't want to do a shabby work of just running through the verses. But no, I'll say one word of Puja Gurudev. One devotee went to Puja Gurudev and told Gurudev, Gurudev, I have gone over Bhagavad Gita 24 times. So Puja Gurudev turned back and asked that person, have Bhagavad Gita gone over you even once? That's the point we need to remember. My endeavor is not to complete Bhagavad Gita. I don't want to complete or so to say. There is a verse word. There is a verse kind of a word we use for this thing. My endeavor is not to finish Gita. I don't want to finish Gita. I want us to understand and reflect Bhagavad Gita the way Bhagavad Gita is wanting to explain. So before I go into the next verse, I would want to read out Puja Gurudev's commentary on the verse number 66. I brought out already one word from there, what Puja Gurudev has mentioned, but I'll read out the entire verse for you to understand. And beautifully Puja Gurudev has mentioned here in the verse number 66. He says, here is an explanation of why quietude of mind is so often and so insistently emphasized in the literature explaining the Hindu technique of self-perfection. Unless the mind is quiet, the individual will have neither the intellectual leisure for cultural self-development, nor the inner energy for consistently living spiritual perfections that a truly developed man yearns for. Unless there is tranquility, there cannot be steadiness of intellectual application to the problems of life. Without this self evaluation of life and true observation with a clear discriminative analysis, we cannot have within us the required amount of devotion to self knowledge. Puja Gurudev coins it as bhavana, with the way Bhagavan has explained it. Without such a glorious goal before us, constantly beckoning us unto itself like a pole star, our life shall be a lost ship in an ocean that is going nowhere, reaching nowhere, and ultimately floundering upon some treacherous rock. The one who has no philosophical goal in life to strive and yearn for will not know what the peace of mind is. To the one who is thus restless, where is happiness? To live in balance and sail steadily, to live in balance and sail safely on the uncertain waves of the ocean of life through both its smiling weather and stormy days, we must have a constant perception of the real. Without a drummer, the dancer's footwork cannot be rhythmic and cannot keep a perfect time. And then he connects the next verse to this particular verse, which Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji also mentioned. And Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji connects the verse number 67 to verse number 66 in his Sambandha, and the line he says, Ayuktasya kasmat buddhihi na asti iti uchyate. Why is there no knowledge for the unsteady? Listen what Bhagwan has to say in the next particular verse. We'll read the next verse. I'll try to take the literal meaning today, but we'll take the detailed meaning in the next session. Verse number 67. Indriyanam hi charatam yanmanonuvidhiyate tadasya harati prajnam vayurnavamivambhasi. Indriyanam hi charatam yanmanonuvidhiyate tadasya harati prajnam vayurnavamivambhasi. As I told you, brilliant verse, so to say. I'm not reading Bhagwan Shankaracharyaji's Bhashya today because I'm not taking a detailed meaning today. I'll read Bhagwan Shankaracharyaji's Bhashya for this verse in the next session, but I'll try to give you the literal meaning of this verse first. Since it is the topic which Supreme Consciousness Bhagwan is continuing in now, or has started from the verse number 58, is the topic of self-control. And Bhagwan has always been emphasizing that self-control is of utmost importance for a human being. And this is something, or self-control is something which should not be and cannot be overlooked by us as human beings. Since it is this way, that is why, excuse me, these verses are called by saints and sages as Sanyamo Upanishad, or Upanishad of self-control. That is how they coin this word. As Bhagwan says here, Indriyanam hi charatam. It is definite that the senses in all forms and manner will always graze in the field of objects. And they are doing that today. They will continue to do that at forward also till the time we are alive. Indriyanam hi charatam. I've already explained this verse earlier. Also, I brought it up before this time, maybe a couple of episodes before. So Bhagwan says, Indriyanam hi charatam. See, all our senses are programmed in such a way that they will graze only in their respected fields of comprehension. Okay, this is how I'll use this particular word. Eyes will always graze in the field of objects, in the field of forms. Ears will always, or the Shravanendriya, or the sense of hearing, will always graze in the field of words. Right? Tongue will always graze in the field of taste. Meaning what? They are programmed in such a way. Eyes cannot hear words, eyes cannot taste food. Ears cannot see form, ears cannot taste food. Tongue cannot see a form, tongue cannot hear words. It can only taste. Eyes can only comprehend forms. Ears or the Shravanendriya, the sense of hearing, can only comprehend words. The sense of taste can only comprehend taste. In the same way, the other two senses also, you say, the nose, the sense of smell can only comprehend and smell. That's all. And the sense of touch can only comprehend through touch. That's all. Right? Bhagwan says this is how the senses are programmed. Till here, it is not problem at all. Right? But what happens? Yan mano anuvidhiyate. Whatever is heard by the ears or whatever is seen by the eyes, whatever is heard by the ears or whatever is seen by the eyes, those objects, if mind accepts those objects too much or gets attached to those objects, so to say, then what happens? Mind starts to run after it and starts to adapt it and starts to develop liking for it, attachment for it. And then what happens? What Bhagwan said in the ladder of fall, then the series of fall starts to happen. Dhyayato vishayan punsaha sangaste shupajayate sangat sanjayate kamaha kamat krodho bhijayate क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहात् स्मृति विभ्रमः स्मृति भ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशः बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति. I'm recalling your memory towards the verse number 62 and 63. All the process of fall as outlined in the verses 62 and 63 starts to happen with such a person. Then those things will start to happen, right? Sangha, kama, everything will happen. Inside, the kind of arrangement which is there, that is what we should draw our attention to before I complete today's session. Okay? What happens inside? Let's translate this entire journey inside for a moment. If, inside what happens is, whatever switch we press, whatever switch, okay, let me just say, in the remote, whatever channel you press, that only will be visible in the television, right? Irrespective of which box you have, whether you have Tata Sky or whether you have Airtel or wherever, whichever box you have, whatever channel number you press, that only will be seen, right? In the same way, whatever switch you press inside, mind starts to work according to that particular switch. Mind starts to watch according to that particular program you are switched on to. If mind adopts something or accepts some object completely and wants to have it in its life, then what happens? Because of loss of knowledge or because of lack of knowledge, lack of wisdom, mind starts to get completely or overtly attached to that particular object. And then what happens? Mind's focus starts to move away to that particular object. And what happens? Slowly, gradually, the self-knowledge and the clarity with self-knowledge with clarity which was gained by this person starts to take a back seat, starts to get into the corner of the intellect. Means what? It says it actually steals away the wisdom of such a person. You remember, huh? Now translate this whole journey. These objects were presented by the senses to the mind. Mind is, oh, the senses are only a waiter, so to say. I'm just, translating in that way. It's only serving the mind. It's only a service provider, so to say. I can translate in many languages. It brought that thing and presented it to the mind. But who gets attached to that thing? It is mind. Senses never holds on to anything which is comprehended by the senses. You can think over it, independently reflect on it. What gets sticked on to the object which is presented by the senses, the stickiness is actually of the mind. Mind sticks to the object. Since that is the case, who is called as attached or who is called as dispassionate? Both are the properties or both are the qualities of mind only. Passionate is also mind, dispassionate is also mind. What happens when the mind sticks to an object? No, just translate it into your own life and see what happened. That thing which mind sticks on is again and again presented inside us, again and again brought forth inside us. Even if we have a kind of hatred towards that thing, not necessarily raga only, it will always bring out. If you have too much hatred towards something, trust me, I'm telling you, I told you in my previous episodes also, there are people I've heard who live with with animosity feeling towards a family or clan for many generations. That is the nature of raga and dvesha, man. It's very difficult. Even if it is hatred or even if it is love towards that object, it will keep on bringing forth in front of it actually, it will, I would use this word, it will always keep on bringing it to in on the front table to be looked at all the time. Mind only has got this capability to attach or detach from an object. But what happens when such a thing happen? Well, if it was a seeker who was working towards a self knowledge, or such a seeker, whatever clear self, the self knowledge which was gained with clarity, this thing which mind and gets attached to or sticked on to, it steals away that clear self knowledge which was gained, or steals away the devotion towards God. Either ways you can take it. It steals away the devotion towards God, and we start to live in forgetfulness of that thing which we started for, and we start to live in remembrance of this new thing, new toy mind has attached itself to. I will stop at this much now in this particular episode, and this is a thinking point for all of you before we come up with the next episode. कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि श्रीमन्नारायणायेति समर्पयामि। ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। ओम तत्सत्।